All right, tonight, the San Diego mother of a young murder victim broke down in tears upon learning that a U.S. District Court judge declared the death penalty unconstitutional here in California.
Do you know what they did to my son? What they did to Charlie? Cruel and unusual punishment? That was cruel and unusual punishment.
The 10 News reporter Preston Phillips is live in Imperial Beach. And Preston, she says that her son's killer could get exactly what he asked for.
That's exactly right, Steve. Scott Erskine asked to get life in prison, and that may be just what he gets. I'm standing about a mile from where her son Jonathan Sellers and Charlie Keefer, his best friend, were lured by Erskine off of this bike trail here in Imperial Beach, then brutally murdered. He wasn't found and charged for their death until 8 years later. 3 years after that, in 2004, he was finally sentenced to death.
It's not fair.
Because she'd been working all day, Melina Sellers Phillips wasn't completely filled in on a federal judge's decision Wednesday declaring the state's death penalty unconstitutional until we let her read it for herself online.
Make them feel half of what they made our kids feel, what they made people that they murdered feel. It's not fair.
Her reaction comes more than 21 years after sex offender serial killer Scott Erskine sexually assaulted and brutally murdered her 9-year-old son Jonathan Sellers and his best friend 13-year-old Charlie Keefer in the South Bay. Both boys found bound and gagged with nooses around their necks.
Some days it hurts so much. It's just so hard.
Erskine was sentenced to death in 2004 for the incredibly heinous crimes.
He wanted the plea bargain, and take life in prison as opposed to death row. And Maria and I, no way. There's no way we're going to give him what he wants.
Meantime, Wednesday, U.S. District Court Judge Cormac Carney overturned a death sentence for a man who killed his girlfriend's mother back in 1992, then called the death penalty's administration so dysfunctional that it constitutes cruel and unusual punishment.
Do you know what they did to my son? What they did to Charlie? Cruel and unusual punishment? That was cruel and unusual punishment.
Yeah, there hasn't been a state execution since 2006 because of multiple problems with the lethal injection procedure. Today's federal court ruling could make it all the way to the Supreme Court if it's appealed. Reporting live tonight from Imperial Beach, Preston Phillips, 10 News.
Still tragic years later. Thank you, Preston.